Thank you, Michael. A few points to help inform the inevitable debates about who's in and who's out. The Hall of Fame is about journalists who made a difference. Mere excellence is not enough. The Hall of Fame is for journalists who shaped the history of their organisation, their genre, their profession, their city, their state, their nation, and in one or two cases, the world. Hall of Famers don't have to be saintly. In fact, there are a few in here who Keith Dunstan might have classified amongst his collection of knockers, wowsers, and ratbags. In the first two inductions, I was joined on the advisory panel by Geoffrey Blaney and Harry Gordon. The former is probably Australia's finest historian journalist, and the latter would finish on the podium amongst our finest journalist historians. What a team to work with for this project. Last year they stood down, preferring to have contemporary journalists judged by their peers, so we immediately inducted Harry into the Hall of Fame last year. This year I was joined by David Broadbent and Sally White. I think their credentials are well known to most people in this room, and we continue to take advice from Dr. Patricia Clark of Canberra, an expert on Australian women writers. There are regrettably few women in the Media Hall of Fame at this stage, but they're coming. Women were pretty much shut out of the game for the first 50 or 60 years. And although they were amongst the first women in the country to get equal pay nearly a century ago, it took many more decades for them to get something approaching equal opportunity. But they're coming in a rush, and I think future inductions will be much more gender balanced. Tonight we're launching a book on the Hall of Fame, 81 of them, 81 chapters, and in that book and during this evening's presentation, we can see that journalists were prime movers in just about all the important movements and reforms in our history in this state, starting from separation of the Victorian colony from New South Wales, backing the gold miners and their spirit in Ballarat, exposing the land boomers and corrupt politicians in the late 19th century, campaigning for industry protection that underpinned our economy for 100 years, shaping the legend of Gallipoli, and that's only the first 80 years. You'll hear many more achievements and significant things, very significant things, led by journalists in more recent years tonight. Tonight you'll also hear journalists saying pleasant things about other journalists, including their competitors. Now there's a story. In the media wars, the Melbourne Press Club is a demilitarised zone. The Press Club celebrates excellence. There are other forums for the conflict. The stories of these people need to be told to the community so that people can see the value in good journalism, in great journalism, especially when they're being asked these days to pay for it in new ways. Media wars, by the way, are nothing new. They're as old as that facsimile newspaper on your tables. One of the people unimpressed by Faulkner's newspaper was fellow Hall of Famer Edmund Finn, the Irish chronicler of early Melbourne. He called Faulkner's paper a miserable rag, with columns of very inferior manuscript matter. Nor was he impressed with Faulkner's intellect, writing that Faulkner was a voracious reader, but devouring, not digesting. What a great sledge. In our selections for the Hall of Fame, we think that our mistakes, if we've made any, will be errors of omission rather than commission, and they can be fixed by future selection panels. We looked at quite a few candidates, quite a few of them in this room, who we considered on the steps of the Hall of Fame. But we thought those decisions should be made with the perspective of a little more time. What's next for the Hall of Fame? Well, we're going national. Our next task will be to add Hall of Famers from the other states. To be honest, we did claim many people who had equally strong links to New South Wales and other states. But everyone in the Victorian Hall of Fame will sit comfortably in a national Hall of Fame. The State Library of Victoria has agreed to host a permanent Media Hall of Fame in a prominent spot. It hasn't been designed yet, but it will be portable to allow it to move to other temporary spots, and replicable so that it can be easily duplicated as permanent displays in other cities. Before that, we plan to stage a temporary exhibition for 2 weeks in the main foyer of the Hotel Windsor from 13 November. We do need a sponsor for the National Hall of Fame. There have been thousands of pro bono hours spent on the project so far, but we do need some funds for fairly modest capital spending and other costs of going national. So if there's anyone in this room tonight who wants to share the custody of the Hall of Fame, come and see me or Mark Baker. Meanwhile, enjoy the company, enjoy the stories. For the first time, see our great present-day journalists examined in an historical context, and take pride in celebrating the best of the best. Thank you.